There are a lot of remakes these days. From Hollywood to the digital world, the old is new again. Remakes are nothing new. Why risk making something new and original where you can just tart up some old dross and resell it to those desperate to recapture their youths? Cough. The 2019 remake, all caps acquired, of MediEvil is maybe the truest incarnation of what people believe they want a remake to be. What they remember, but with a fresh coat of paint. Digital paint. The graphics aren't crap anymore is what I'm getting at. It has an appropriately 90s back of the box, being just a few screenshots, some artwork and blurb that barely gives the merest hint of what you're actually buying. More than the bare bones remake? We'll see. Still no actual manual though. I miss those. I had a lot of fun with the original PS1 MediEvil, so I guess I'm the primary audience for this little endeavour. Let's go see if I've wasted my money or not. Right, let's go back to the 90s, when cringe was just normal life, superhero films were shite, and games weren't made completely governed on how much money they could make. Maybe I should just put it in normally, as the bishop said to the choir boy. Chances are you bought this because you played the original, or maybe even the PSP remake back in the day, but if you didn't, here's the skinny. Some evil git called Zarok took his World of Warcraft Lich cosplay far too seriously and attempted to overthrow the presumably very competent monarchy of Galamir with an army of demons, dragons and other standard fantasy BS. One Sir Dan Fortescue, a court kiss-ass more known for his goofy smile than swordsmanship, led the counterattack against Zarok and promptly got shot in the eye on the first charge. They ain't gonna be making tapestry of you, Milado. Of course, history is often murky, and Danny Boy winds up the hero of the battle despite being a total screw-up. Zarok never even gets so much as scratched and turns up a century later with a much better plan of magical mind buggery instead of a reenactment of Agincourt. A great part about this intro is that it is nearly a direct shot-for-shot remake of the PS1 original. They even got the cameraman from the Evil Dead films to come back. Zarok is back, or possibly Fargus from Pandemonium after having finally found his library guard and gotten the mindfeckery spell of mindfecking he's going to finish what he started. And Star Wars Wipe 2? Some of the most terrifying NPCs in gaming, though the PS1 villagers were nightmare fuel to Tiny Rog. Really, the original graphics were more fittingly creepy, but I'll get back to that. Zarok shows he's not the brightest warlock in Zaweldor by resurrecting the dead inside the graveyard with Dan's name right over the front gate in 3-foot high letters. Conveniently for the plot, Dan is resurrected but has his own free will. Now it's time to go kick Zarok right where presumably his balls still are. He added those cheek horns. Seriously, who does that? So who knows where everything else is? We get our standard tutorial level, Dan's Crypt, where we can test out the controls. Obviously, with the original only having a D-pad, the analog stick controls make Dan much easier to move about, but otherwise his hacky-slashy combat remains the same. Loose and floppy. Much like your dad. Having the second analog stick around to have full camera control really highlights just how much technological development there's been since 1998. A nice addition is the 2-weapon quick swap. Before you had to pause to change weapons, but now you have 2 slots to swap mid-fight. This small quality of life change really adds up over the course of the game, allowing it to flow better and for you to complete it faster. A game you can actually complete and doesn't take 5 years to do. Sans microtransactions and DLC nonsense. The 90s really were great. The gameplay remains straightforward throughout the course of the game. You run around stabbing, shooting and chickening various undead, not dead and who knows whats with a medley of swords, hammers, bows and frickin' lightning bolts amongst others. Each weapon has an alternate fire mode, most being a charge up, area of effect or rapid fire, except for the crossbow, which Dan fires gangster style instead. You can tell this was made in the 90s. You get all of these weapons by killing enough of the enemies within a level to fill up the chalice, this pimp cup here. Fill it, get it, and complete the level by finding it all with Zarok's, and I quote, stinking trail of magical slime. Dude, see a doctor! And you'll wind up in the Hall of Heroes. This is essentially Valhalla, except everyone is a statue. So your reward for an heroic death in this world is to be eternally stoned. Fair enough. You go have a passive-aggressive chat with the highlighted statue and wind up rewarded with a new weapon, some health or some cold hard cash. A nice little touch is the chalices you've collected gather on the dining table. And it doesn't matter what level you collect a chalice on, the upgrades are given on total number of chalices collected, not where you got them from. Ergo, if you miss one on a tough level, you can come back later with much better equipment and grab the chalice easily. When you do have the platform though, it's not great. The game is clearly designed around puzzle solving and the hack and slash combat. Thankfully, it's not the focus, excluding the ghost ship level. The boss fights are really more of a test of do you have enough life bars rather than skill. Most you can simply shoot from a distance or avoid their attacks until they expose their glowing weak spot for massive damage, and then you introduce their innards to the concept of daylight. The game is entirely linear up until this point. You need the dragon armor to get past this gate to the final set of levels. You get the dragon armor from the dragon boss. You need 2 dragon gems, one from the Mayor of Gallowmere in the bottom of the Undead Asylum. If that's your mayor, then democracy clearly isn't for you. And one from the Pumpkin Witch after killing the Pumpkin Serpent. In order to summon the Pumpkin Witch, you need the Witch's Talisman from a secret area earlier in the game, which is surprisingly not in a hot topic, which you're hinted towards but never directly told you need to do this. Now, I've played the original enough that I know what order to do things in that is the most efficient, but having a literal firewall 3/4 of the way through the game, which you need to remember flavor text in order to get a hint of how to progress past it, it's a bit of a dick move, notably since the game's pretty much entirely linear up to that point. The only truly optional area is the Forest Witch's secret ant level. Completing it gets you a bonus chalice if you rescue all the Cockney fairies, and the chicken drumsticks, which are essentially grenades that turn enemies into health pickups. They're powerful, but they're really not worth the length of time you'll spend running around the maze that is the ant's nest. A new thing added are the Lost Souls. After opening this chest in the third to last level, 19 of these little guys can be found around the game world. You collect them and do a little minigame, usually consisting of a brief enemy wave. Once you've gotten all 19 tasks done, you unlock a port of the original PS1 game. Whilst it is a nice addition, it's just a straight port, no graphical smoothing or anything like that whatsoever. And considering you're like 2 or 3 levels from completing the game, are you really going to go back and start from the beginning again? I don't think you are. It does look a lot better than the original though. 20 odd years of graphical development should do that. It's not the best looking PS4 game, but as a remake, the comparisons to the original highlight just how much better modern games look now. The PS1 couldn't render one of this Dan's teeth, let alone a level. The pre-rendered intros some levels have are also shot-for-shot remakes of the originals and blend a lot better with the in-game graphics than the PS1 ones ever did. The few cutscenes otherwise are all in-engine and, if not again remade wholly from the original, they're perfectly serviceable. Added particle effects to attacks, fires, and little things like Dan's spine extending in mid-jump, the shop gargoyles eating the gold you spend there, or the life bottles on your health bar falling over as they're empty, all add to the charm of the game. Oh, bugger, the animation budget ran out. My favourite little thing in the game is the stop motion animation style on Jack of the Green, who has possibly the best voice in the game.
Here you are, Sir Clever Clogs. I grant you free passage through my maze. Find your own way out.
So, the gameplay is fairly basic, the progression is overall linear with an annoying firewall 3/4 of the way through to the end, and the game overall is pretty easy. What is good about MediEvil? Personality. There really is no other game that's got the almost Tim Burton-esque atmosphere that MediEvil has while still being its own entity. The two key components are the art style and the music. The cartoony yet surreal designs of the character and environment create an otherworldly ambience that brings to mind most strongly The Nightmare Before Christmas. The buildings had slightly off angles, the character proportions are halfway between real and not, and the more rounded feel of the graphics make you feel like you're playing through some 80s indie band only music video made by some tweaked out student. Frankly, the limited polygon count of the original worked better with this style, but that's just opinion rather than fact. No, it isn't. I do not, however, consider the music to be opinion only. The original score was made by Paul Arnold and Anu Barnabas, Bob and Barn, who were specifically told to take inspiration from the work of Danny Elfman, the guy who made the Batman Returns, Beetlejuice and The Nightmare Before Christmas soundtracks. The PS1 original used synthesizers to emulate an orchestra and organ, but this remake, also scored by B&B, actually had a full orchestra, specifically the Prague Symphony Orchestra, to re-record the original tracks plus a few new ones with the gaps filled in by tracks from the PSP remake of MediEvil, MediEvil Resurrection. So that's twice this game has been remade. Expect the third remake to come out in 2040, in VR with realistic bone smells or some such nonsense. However, The restrictions forced by technology on the original made the simulated orchestra fit in much better with the overall surreal feel of the game rather than the new actual orchestra. How many modern games have you played that have a full orchestral music score that you cannot remember any of the tracks from? On the flip side, everyone can hum at least a few 8 or 16-bit melodies. Truly an example of how limited tools prompt inspired solutions. Having this great atmosphere can be spoiled if you hit the speed bumps of bad voice acting. See Resident Evil 1.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
Thankfully, MediEvil has some of the most fitting voice acting performances which they kept and unbit crushed for the remake. I have no real way to highlight this other than to show you these clips.
The hero of Gallowmere who fell at the first charge. So, even from the shackles of death, my old enemy pursues me.
People say to me, Stungard, what do you think of this sword or that axe? But I say to them, 9! Oh, great. I'm just gonna give you a good hiding.
Captain, I thought you ought to know we have a stowaway on board. I've told the men to scour the decks for him.
Bugger.
A sad but poignant touch is that this remake was dedicated to the voice actor of Zarok, Mr. Paul Dara, who died not long before the remake came out.
Bugger.
It is a shame, but I like to think that Mr. Dara would have found some macabre humour in carking it right before his biggest role in gaming just got re-released. British humour can be a bit like that. With the original being made by a British studio, Sony Computer Entertainment Cambridge, it was inevitable that the game would have at least some typically British humour, such as absurdism.
Where are you going with that dead cat, Zarok? Where did you find that brain, Zarok? Wretched busybody.
Slapstick.
I regret nothing!
The chaotic. And good old-fashioned innuendo.
You must be out of shape after 100 years lying on your back. Willie only uses the finest of metals in his work, and is particularly noted for his magnificent busts.
Can't forget any opportunity to make the French look like a horse's ass.
You don't quite have my breeding, Mr. Johnny-come-lately, but there's hope for you yet.
So, at the end of the day, is the MediEvil remake worth it? I'd say yes. It's not the tightest gameplay you'll ever encounter, yet the story and charm of the game will keep you entertained from start to finish. The characters aren't the deepest, however the world they're part of is the real star of the show, enriched by a grand soundtrack, and bugger me, but the voice acting is great. I really can't fault this remake for succeeding to recapture the unique atmosphere and overall experience of the original, just tarted up slightly, but if you're like me and love the 98 original, you are guaranteed to love this remake. It's just what you think you want from a remake, the same, but with modern graphics. Looking at you, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Please be good. And if you're not a 90s kid, you won't have experienced this style of gaming before. The indies can try their best though, aside from grabbing some old hardware, the likes of this remake are the best shot you have at something just a little bit different. Also, it's cheap, 25 quid at launch for a truly unique experience that will stay with you. What could go wrong? One moment. Oh shit, it's zombies again! Oh hey, you made it to the end. Cheers for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please have a look at the rest of the channel for some others you may like. You can always either like and subscribe, it'll help me out, and I can annoy you later down the road. Shine on.